while we inch closer and closer to the opening of training camp for the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls still do have one roster spot open, and the speculation around it continues to go up, it continues to go down, and now we have the latest from Brett Siegel, who is saying that the Chicago Bulls could complete a sign and trade for Ben Mathurin using only Isaac Okoro and second-round picks. We're going to talk about that, the likelihood of it happening, and does that make sense for the Chicago Bulls considering their roster needs? Plus, Nick Claxton officially reported to the Advocate Center for the Chicago Bulls, and we're going to talk about what that means for his offseason as he now could begin those workouts with Caleb Wilson, Miles Buzelis, and the other Bulls players already in Chicago. We're talking about all that. Let's dive into the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, is the Ben Mathurin trade not actually dead? The signing trade not actually dead? We had heard some initial rumors that the Bulls were interested in Ben Mathurin. Then it got reported that the Bulls' interest in Ben Mathurin was a little bit overstated. But now we have a new report from Brett Siegel in regards to the Chicago Bulls, and he says this. Multiple teams have registered a level of interest in Ben Mathurin at this point. The New Orleans Pelicans, Chicago Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks, and Dallas Mavericks are among those teams who have registered interest in the 24-year-old, according to Mike Soto of Hoops Hype. Sources say the Detroit Pistons have also inquired about Mathurin about the time of Summer League, but are not pursuing him. Siegel then went on to go talk about the Chicago Bulls specifically, where he said this. This is what Brett Siegel wrote. He says, giving up Isaac Okoro and some second-round picks would likely be enough to get the Clippers to sign off on a Mathurin sign-and trade. This is definitely one of the smoothest and easiest paths to a deal for Los Angeles. Now, there's been much speculation about Ben Mathurin, and I want to be clear here. In this, I do feel like there's maybe more noise than actuality in regards to that. That's just my personal feeling on it, because to me, and my personal thoughts on it, is that if all it took was Isaac Okoro and a couple of second-round picks to get a player, that is young, kind of fits your timeline, has scoring upside, brings the scoring that you're lacking off the bench, I don't see why Bryson Graham wouldn't do it if his interest in Ben Mathurin was that high. Now, you could make the argument that, well, Haize, like they're trying to wait him out, see if that value goes a little bit down, hold on to as many assets as possible. And maybe you're right on that one. And so, there's two minds of it, and I don't think one's more right or wrong than the other. Hell, we're speculating on what another person would want to do with their roster. So everybody's opinion on it has a level of validity and a level of questionality to it. We all do, right? But now I think that, at some point, a deal has to get done. And if the Bulls are interested in Ben Mathurin and Isaac Okoro is the price and a couple of second-round picks, if you can get a Ben Mathurin on a 2 or 3 year deal to kind of overlap with both either Modest's deal coming up or Josh Giddey's deal coming up, and that leaves you another natural pivot point, I don't see why you wouldn't do it if your interest in Mathurin is high, right? So the question is like, how much does Bryson Graham actually like the Ben Mathurin acquisition? We know that he's a guy that can get you 15 to 17 points off the bench. He's an inconsistent three-point shooter, even though he had a pretty solid season shooting for three before going to L.A. last season. So there's signs that he can grow in that area. He can rebound the ball, all those type of things. Like, there is upside with Ben Mathurin. And, while somebody validly pointed out the fact that, like, well, his teams have always been a net negative when he's on the court, I think when you're looking at being on the ground floor of a team and you're hoping that you can develop a player and maybe get them in the right path, you're trusting your development team. You're trusting Tiago Splitter if that ends up being the case. My question comes down to then, I wonder, like, as much as Bulls fans are down on Isaac Okoro, I wonder if maybe Tiago Splitter isn't as down on Isaac Okoro. And this is, again, completely speculation on my part, but I think when you look at the type of defenders and disruptive on-ball defenders that Tiago Splitter likes to use, I could see him convincing himself that Okoro can play that role to some degree for him. He's on a low-cost contract. He's a free agent at the end of the season. But then I can see the other side of it, where you have an opportunity to take a shot at a young guy who has played on a winning team before and maybe bring that into your team and your culture. And, I do think it brings some immediate competition for Dalen Swain as well, which Dalen Swain's already facing an uphill battle. So there's those things, right? the Bulls sign and trade path in this, if it's truly how Brett Siegel laid it out, it does stand out and it does become interesting because you are then, if it costs Chicago, the $9.3 million room exception that they have, plus trading Isaac Okoro in that and some second round picks, like for a player that could be what Ben Mathurin could be off the bench to be able to get you 15 to 17 points, that's an amazing value at that level. It's an amazing value with that said. And so, and then Isaac Okoro gives the Clippers a defensive wing that they can use on that team that doesn't have a long contract either. So there's in that, right? You're not trying to gut your young core. You're trying to add to it. And so Okoro plus second round picks, it sounds like something that, could be a clean deal, especially if the Bulls do not view Isaac Okoro as somebody who's has a long-term path here. And that's there. Right now, on the other side of this, would this be looked at as the Clippers just giving Ben Mathurin away for a young player that they, just traded Zubac for at the trade deadline? And, I don't know where the Clippers sit with this right now. They drafted Keaton Wagler. They're clearly going a new direction with the roster. There's still that overhead thing of if the Kawhi Leonard trade is going to go through. But at this, if they move Mathurin, I do think that they are going to look at something that helps stuff their asset sheet. And do second-round picks do that? I mean, if that's the best thing that you're on out there, I think that their path for the Bulls may be cleaner than New Orleans Pelicans unless the Pelicans are offering somebody of note. They're unlikely to. Milwaukee and Dallas may have interest, but again, their interest may not net really back as much unless there is like Daniel Gafford or P.J. Washington on the board, then maybe they want that more, right? And even then, should the Clippers even want a win-now talent considering where they are with their roster? So it's a lot of it. Having a clear path like the Bulls do does not mean that the value just goes out the window or they'll just take it because it's the cleanest deal possible, right? And then you have the Mathurin fit question there. And like I said, Mathurin would give them more rim pressure, another guy that can create some offense, which the Bulls are severely lacking up and down this team. And he could end up being a long-term option for the Bulls, and you could take a couple of years while you're on the ground floor to figure that out. But the concerns with Mathurin are there. The defensive consistency, his decision-making at times, the shot diet isn't always the best there with Ben Mathurin either. And then you have to question, all right, what's the value of the contract that you can sign him to, and if that's going to continue to be a value contract. So, yeah, Mathurin, I think, can help the Bulls. And I'm not going to act like he can't. He's a young player with upside that has some proven NBA skill and talent now. And I think that when you look at it, what it would say about Ben Mathurin, it'll say that, the Bulls are willing to maybe lose out on some of that flexibility, right? Mathurin would be a swing. He's not a win now. It's not a panic move. It's a swing and an opportunity for a young player that a lot of teams seem to have to pass up on and go after it. Now, Chicago isn't going to chase every rumor. They're not going to chase every young player that's available. And that's what kind of some of this has started to get into for the Bulls is that the rumors have the Bulls chasing every young talent possible because of that open roster spot and being in the set of a rebuild. And I get that, right? But not every rumor is going to have long legs to it. And so, but I will say this too, for people like everybody, like the fans that think, oh, but they said we're rebuilding, so why are we going to make win now moves? Rebuilding doesn't mean you wait till forever. Rebuilding just means that you're taking time to build it correctly. It means making moves that fit your timeline because it fits what the vision you see for this team going. It doesn't mean sitting on your hand and not making deals like some people take it to be. And we'll just see what that means. Does that mean that the Bulls make a move and a pivot for Ben Mathurin? Possibly. Does it mean that for sure? Hell no. And we'll see what comes down to it with that one. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Now, the other bit of news that we got for the Chicago Bulls is Nick Claxton officially reported to Chicago. He's in Chicago now. He reported to the Advocate Center. The Bulls posted about it. He posted about being at the Advocate Center, posting this. First day at the facilities. It feels like the first day of school. It's been good vibes. I'm excited to get to know everybody and get things rolling. That's what Nick Claxton posted on social media after reporting to the Advocate Center. And this is good. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you want everybody there. I know that they can't officially have workouts right now, but one of the things that the Bulls did under Billy Donovan and did almost every year under Billy Donovan is that a lot of people kind of reported early, and you'll start seeing them have those practices together. You start seeing them have those scrimmages together. Remember that one year that Billy Donovan, because he didn't want to get in trouble by the NBA, was like, I didn't coach anything. I was just there observing, right? And that gives Tiago Splitter a chance to do the same thing, right? You can't have organized practices, but your guys can get together in your facilities. They can work out. They can build that chemistry. They can do all those type of things. It's very similar in football to how you'll often see your wide receivers, your tight ends, and your quarterback all kind of get together at some point and have workouts in different places. The Bears had it this year where Caleb, I think, invited everybody out to USC, and a lot of the receivers and tight ends came out there, and they get to work on that chemistry. That's what this is an opportunity to do. Nick Claxton is a trade that, like I talked about in yesterday's episode, has its fair share of criticism around the NBA landscape. And he's a player that as well has been on decline the last few years. And so now coming to a team with more youth, more excitement around it, being able to work. We already know Caleb Wilson and Monas Buzelis. They've been working out almost every day together, building that chemistry. You add in Nick Claxton there. Josh Giddey's already back in Chicago as well. I think Norman Powell's in Chicago also. You could have your whole starting lineup out there working and building chemistry together, possibly. If I'm right on, I know Josh Giddey came back. I don't know if Norman Powell for sure. I think I saw something about it. I know he's in Vegas. I don't know if he's back, if he's in Chicago yet. But you can have those guys start building that chemistry, start building that shorthand, start kind of understanding how they play and how they can fit together. Because especially for the style that we're slated to play, Josh Giddey learning that shorthand, learning where guys like the ball, learning the instincts of where they cut, instinctively, things like that. It can't do nothing but help this team get over that curve. This is a team that I do think can be better than the expectations and what the predictions have the Bulls being. But and things like this can help them hit that a little bit earlier. Because like I said, I think this is going to be a team that early on is going to struggle, maybe to close games, maybe not get in the fourth quarters that they need. And maybe this type of thing can help you get over that a little bit sooner, I guess is my thought process. And we'll see if that ends up coming out for the Chicago Bulls. But let me know what you guys think about Nick Claxton officially reporting to Chicago. But it is Saturday. That means it is mailbag day here. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails, man. This one's from Unc Vaughn.
What's good, Haize? It's your boy Vaughn from Indianapolis. Just got done checking out the Claxton podcast, and I think there's just a lot of national hate for the Bulls right now. I can't really complain too much about where a lot of these national publications or some of these national publications have them ranked in the East. I mean, seriously, outside of New Jersey and Milwaukee, those are the only two teams I can definitively say that they're better than. I can see the Bulls, and this might sound crazy, possibly surprising, and being better than Atlanta and Orlando if those teams, have some injury issues or, they fall back a little bit. But, yeah, there's a lot of hate going on for the Bulls nationally, but like you and another podcast said the other day, we ain't proof shit. You got to go out there and do it, and it's not about triple doubles and it's not about ascending players. It's about wins and losses. And the Bulls, they put a bad taste in our mouths as fans, and they, got a bad taste nationally, and that's just what it is. We got to go out there and do it. So, but just the Claxton trade in and of itself, I mean, I never really looked at that as like a salary dump. I'm sure, it was a salary dump on the part of the Nets, but I never really expected the Bulls to, get draft compensation back in that. Like you said in your podcast, we needed a starting center. He's going to give us what we need defensively. He's a rim runner. If he can get back, I think you said his top numbers were 13 and 9 and almost 14 points a game and 9 rebounds. Man, if he gets to 12, 13 points a game and shoot 8 solid rebounds and I think you said 2 blocks, if he gets, block and a half a game, in today's NBA, that's worth, a $22 million contract that's descending next year. And then you get into all the defensive metric stuff. I'll just, leave that to you and hear what you talk about. So his impact could be even greater. But I don't see any issue. I don't see how you could rank that as one of the worst moves in the offseason. I actually thought it was a pretty good move. So I think that's part of that national narrative, that national hate. Again, I do think we need to win 35 to 38 games this year. And if we don't, then there's a problem, I think. I think, barring any injury, we're going to have to look at, is this the right supposed core going forward? I think, again, I know I'm beating that same damn drum. We had a talk off record, and I should have put it more on an ascending scale. But in 3 years, we should be primed to win like 45 to 50 games, and I'm going to stand by that. Be ready, y'all.
I don't know if I'll call it national media hate, only because I'll say this. It's more national media doubt, right? The Bulls are in a rebuild, and so much of this team is brand new. And I think also there's a lot of doubt around this team because it's like you have your question because of AK being so inept. Like, all right, maybe do the Bulls actually have more talent than what we thought here? Or was AK too bought into people that he brought into the team and these guys are actually worse and maybe Thiago's going to expose that? Like, there's a lot of different thought process in it for the Bulls. And so I think that it's up to the Bulls to go out and prove their doubters wrong. And so there's a lot of national media doubt here around the Bulls, and a lot of it's earned based off how this franchise has operated, how we've performed, all those type of things over the last 6 years. So I can't really knock them for that. And I think overall, like the Nick Claxton thing, I think is going to be proven to be pretty damn good, right? Now, I do agree with you, though, that the Bulls can exceed expectations. This does feel like a team that has better balance, and they can. Now, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you will, right? Because there's a lot of things that need to come together for you to be able to actually hit that, and we'll see if the Bulls can do that this season. I hope that they can. You know, my faith is always in the Bulls, and we'll see. And I do agree with you on Nick Claxton. As I talked about in that episode, I think Claxton brings a lot of what we need. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't, it's a 2-year deal. You can move off of him. It doesn't stop you from finding your center of the future. And let's see if the Bulls can do that. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from CP.
What's going on? Hey, this is CP. And I have a quick question. So, I don't know if anybody brought this up on the channel, but I'm trying to figure out why with the 15th spot being open, why not sign Cam Thomas to a 1-year deal, minimum, just because, I don't know, no team, it doesn't seem like any teams want him. I don't know why, which is interesting. We're not necessarily worried about defense, for one, and two, I don't know. I just kind of feel like if that 15th spot is the Javon Carter world. Javon Carter was not good, so I don't really care about it. But at the same time, even if we do take back salary within a trade, we're still trying to evaluate, everybody on the team. So I don't see why we wouldn't sign him for a minimum, see what he got, see how it works with, the rest of the guys. Like I said, we're not worried about defense. Besides our guards, him and Trey Jones are too small in my opinion. Giddey doesn't play terrific defense, but with the team defense, with Caleb being in there, Mattis being in there, Claxton being in there, I don't see it being a huge drop off, but I could be wrong depending on, matchups and everything. But yeah, I like Ben Mathurin too. I like pretty much anybody in their 15th role. Like you said, there's nobody that, as long as they don't turn into Jaden Ivey, I don't really care. But yeah, give me your thoughts on that. I just want to understand why Cam Thomas wouldn't even be that 15th guy off the bench at least.
Honestly, I think it's because Cam Thomas has the reputation of a chucker. And I think that, you're worried about him on defense too. And I think the Bulls are worried about defense. I think actually Tiago Splitter and what his defensive philosophies are, this Bulls team is going to think a lot about the defensive side of the ball for people. And so I think that. But I also think it's maybe less than that. I think that Bryson, even though we have a 15th spot open, even though we're in a rebuild, I think Bryson is still focused on players that he feels can fit the system. And Cam Thomas, there's a question on if he can with the scoring methodology and that type of thing. Like, does he actually fit in with the team concept of basketball that this team is after? And I think there's some fair questions to ask in that. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll say this. If they have some doubt that Cam Thomas fits the way that they want to play, the style that they want to play, all that type of stuff, then they may not take a shot at him. But on my side, the human side, the Haize side of it, if it's the vet minimum, if you get through to a week before training camp and Cam Thomas isn't on a single roster and you take a shot on him on a 1-year veteran deal to bring some shooting to this team and basically put him on a short leash, I don't hate that at all. That's my personal thing. Now, that's my thought process. Now, the Bulls and Bryson Graham may view it completely differently. Bulls fans are going to view that completely differently. But for a vet minimum, I'm not mad at that because, hell, if he doesn't work out, you sit his ass on the end of the bench. You can cut him, say, hey, another team may take a shot at you. It didn't work out here. There's a lot of different opportunities and avenues you can go with it. So as you get closer and closer to training camp happening, maybe something like that becomes more likely. It is kind of weird, though. The Cam Thomas, guy that's put up, 50 at one point, that no team in the NBA is really willing to bite on the Cam Thomas thing. It's a little weird. You would think that some team that's like even a bad team that just needs somebody to put up shots would be willing to, but maybe there's something that we don't know. Maybe that's the case. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today, man. This one's from Sean.
Sorry, Sean calling. I was just listening to the pod, and on paper, you are right. This team looks like it can be a good team, but that is on paper. I've watched enough basketball just for reference. Dame and Giannis should have worked out on paper. They didn't really work out that well, you know. There's several instances of things just not working out as they should. On paper, Modest and Caleb, they're what gets me excited about Bulls basketball. Because you talking about Modest throwing a pass to Caleb on a break. Could you imagine a Modest to Caleb Wilson lob? How crazy the United Center would go? I've never been to the United Center, but I want to go now. See Red, guys, it's an exciting season, but my excitement has temperament, I guess you would say. Like I don't expect much of us. I see a path forward of us being a play-in team, but I also see us winning, 10 more games like Pat says, and I'm okay with that. As long as Modest and Caleb look like they're developing and moving forward, as well as, I hope Dalen Swain or Noah shows they can take a step. But you never know. See Red, let's go.
You are extremely right? On paper, this looks like a team that can absolutely exceed some expectations and fit together. But games aren't won on paper. Not a single game is won on paper, right? You have to prove it in actuality on the basketball court. That is what you have to do. That is what the Bulls have to do. And we'll see if they can do that. I hope that they can. I would love nothing more than to say that this Bulls team developed that scrappy nature that we like, that they played the way that we like, and that it all came together and the Bulls ended up being much better than people expected them to, gave them credit to, and then that way, hey, it starts to rebuild off in a pretty damn good spot if we're able to do that. And we'll see, right? Like, it's up to Tiago, it's up to the team, it's up to everybody, like, as a culmination coming together as a team to get and prove that you can do that. And let's see if the Bulls can. Now, as far as you not getting to the United Center, my boy, get to the – matter of fact, when you decide to go to the United Center, tell me. I may go down there and meet you down there. Like, you got to get to the United Center. Like, I think every Bulls fan has to see a game at the United, at least one in their lifetime. The United Center is such a – especially when the Bulls are playing good. It's almost no – and I've been to a lot of different stadiums for a lot of different sports and a lot of different NBA teams as well. Like, the United Center is a special, special place when the Bulls are rocking and rolling, man. It's very special. So you got to get to the United Center, man. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. Make sure you guys sound off down below on how you feel about the new rumors around Ben Mathurin, the Nick Claxton reporting to Chicago and what that can mean, and then also what you guys think about all the voicemails. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.